You think I should have my DNA checked for fuck ups? You think the niacin is fucking me up?
No, no. Here's
Or just to check it to see if I'm like incredibly youthful for taking niacin for so many years.
well, you have to have been taking. Yeah, we know you're rolling, but this is vitally important for all our listeners. Turns out Rick's been taking niacin,
For
and
like 12 years.
if you combine that with resveratrol, you should be staying very young, and it should show up in your DNA.
Yeah, well, I don't take resveratrol because the only way to get resveratrol to work well is to inject it, and I'm not a junkie, so I
No,
don't
you can take it orally. You just have to combine it with a little olive oil.
Yeah, I do that with another drug, but anyway, okay, let's move on to fucking the yelly part of the show. I had
All
a
right.
very nice interaction with conservative pundit Candace Owens, whom I normally don't like because she's super conservative and she tweets out snarky stuff about libs like me. So what happened was, what's that sound like somebody slurping on a straw?
That's my coffee machine slurping.
Okay, all right, that's okay. Anyway, so what happened was somebody tweeted out that there are all these, since we're 39 days away from the election, there are all these books on the bestseller list. And somebody noticed, and I tweeted that several Republican books on the list have a little symbol next to them that says they were bought in bulk, which is a strategy you use if you want to get on the bestseller list, but you can't sell enough books on your own. So I tweeted, yeah, look at these symbols next to Sean Hannity's book and Don Jr.'s book and Candace Owens' book, which shows that they were bulk purchased. And then Candace Owen tweeted back at me and she said, that's not true at all. But I would never do that. That I've worked my whole life, blah, blah, blah. And she said, we did make one purchase of 800 books for a public appearance I was having, and we sold them all, and that's only out of 120,000 books we sold. I said, well, I apologize, and I'll delete the original tweet. And then she tweeted back, thank you, and this is having a book on the bestseller list has been a lifelong dream of mine, and I would never mess with the rules like that. And I tweeted back, congratulations, and that's a dream of mine too. And it was a very pleasant interaction.
Wow. She's really something too. I mean, she's incredibly charming and intelligent, and wow. I mean, who knows where this could lead, Rick? I mean, not that you're
It's not leading anywhere, but what I've been realizing over the past week, and we've kind of known it, you've pointed it out, and I've admitted to it, that I'm not among the most liberal of liberals. That if you took 100 people at random, or just across the whole political spectrum in America, and I'd probably only be more liberal than like 70 of them, which would still leave 29 or 30, that are more to the left than me. But there are two axes to the bothered by Trump deal, and one is how liberal you are, and the other is how much you just like the traditional norms of government and not cheating. And what this means is I have like a love for never Trumpers. Some of my favorite people on Twitter are never Trumpers. Rick Wilson is a big never Trumper. Steve Schmidt on TV. Steele, who used to be the chairman of the RNC. Anybody who started off as a RNC muckety muckin is now regularly on MSNBC, I love. Joe Walsh, who used to be a Tea Party congressman, and I used to tweet the meanest, snarkiest shit at him all the time. And now I feel so bad because, I agree with everything he tweets. And anyway, um, I like, I like the Lincoln Project. I like Don Winslow's. I like anybody who's making. Anyway, go ahead.
I just I assume that you despise people that have left the Democrat Party too. I mean, people like Lieberman was a kind of middle. Do you despise Lieberman, who was more of a conservative Democrat?
I don't know. I mean, frickin', who I despise in politics, besides, the Republicans that I don't like Ron Johnson and stuff. But I despise Jill Stein, who seems like either an idiot or a scammer or a Russian dupe or all three. So I don't
Isn't
like
she?
her.
Isn't Jill Stein the lady that ran on the Libertarian Party or the Green Party?
She ran on the Green in 2016, and there are pictures of her dining with Putin, and she just sucked away votes from squirrely hyper liberals. And then after the election, when she got people to contribute a couple $1,000,000 to her, and she was going to use that money to get like the real close states recounted, like Wisconsin and the ones that Trump only won by a few tens of thousands of votes, and that money just disappeared, and she just seems like an asshole. So I don't like her. Ralph Nader makes me uneasy in that he's like one of these guys who doesn't know when to quit, and he fucked up the 2000 election. But
Yeah,
Lieberman,
he gave the election to Bush.
yeah, because he's a third party guy, and he took like I don't know more than 1% of the vote, and that would so I don't like those guys.
Hmm.
Well, except Ralph Nader has actually done some good in his life, so he's less contemptible than fucking Jill Stein. And Lieberman, I don't know. He just seems like a squirrely guy to me, but I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to him. Nobody pays that much attention to him. I don't know. He's old and I don't know.
Well, he ran for vice president with it wasn't Gore. Who was it? Was it Gore? Well,
Was it? Yeah, it was
Yeah,
Gore
yeah,
Lieberman.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he incurred the lasting bitter enmity of Democrats because he supported the Iraq War. They said that the argument, the attack was that he was putting Israel before America because he is a Jew. But anyway, what did you now? Before I ask you this question, I have to ask you if you got our director's email this afternoon.
I did. I just looked at it a second ago, and I quickly, I was familiar with the stories, so yeah, I
Okay.
did.
So, would you like to start off telling me the situation with Hunter Biden from your viewpoint?
Well, I just glanced at the story, but that he's back in the news, and I haven't paid. Now you want if you can blame my media if you want, but it's just I read a lot about Hunter Biden like 3 months ago, and I haven't. I just anything about Hunter Biden recently I've been pretty much ignoring. Um, I saw something about some company he worked with got $3.5 million from some. He himself didn't get 3.5 million or so. I don't know, but some company gave him a bunch of business, and I don't know. That I don't know. You want to talk? You can talk about Hunter Biden.
Well, first, let's begin by apparently your media has shielded you again.
No bullshit. I just said that there's been plenty about Hunter Biden for me to read about if I wanted to, and I just is like, no, I don't want to read because Hunter Biden has no traction. Hunter Biden shit isn't changing anybody's mind at this point. We got 39 days to go till the election. Hunter Biden was hashed over. I mean, the only people who are going to be, give a shit are people who are already voting for Trump. But go ahead. But don't
Well,
blame my media. My media's had the shit in there about Hunter Biden.
but they didn't say anything to you this week, today or
They did,
yesterday.
but I saw something about there's further investigation from I think that's when I just said Ron Johnson, who's this senator. I think he's using my media has said that he's using intel or from Russian sources pertaining to the Ukraine to bring up these points about Hunter Biden. So there's
All
been
right.
plenty of
Well,
stuff for me to know. I just was like, oh, fuck that shit. I don't want to know about it.
so what happened was today it came out that Hunter Biden and all of the Biden children, so there are 4 of them. There's a Sarah Biden, a James Biden, a Hunter Biden. I don't know if it's James, but there are 3 Biden children involved in this.
Including the one who died?
No, not the one that died. Or maybe it did 5 years ago when he was alive. Some of this stuff traces back. It all goes back to the Obama administration. So, yeah, it might have included him, sure. It turns out that the Biden family had been receiving millions and millions of dollars from Russian oligarchs, from the communist Chinese, and from elements of the Ukraine, and from companies in the Ukraine. So what happened was,
what were they doing? What were
well,
they going to do?
that is the question, Rick. That is the question. See,
And this is Senator Ron Johnson's investigation, right?
It is the Republican investigation, and it turns out that he received millions. This has been backed up by the Treasury Department and the State Department. And there's a good reason for it. So let me finish my thought, please.
Mm-hmm.
So Biden's Hunter and the other Biden children received millions from China, Russia, and the Ukraine. And he said, for doing what? And that's the question, Rick. Don't try to answer.
I need to do, we need to break for 1 minute and let me read that article.
Well, actually, Rick, it's not an article. It's not an article. The information I've gotten is from the Ukraine report that was published by the Senate.
Yeah, but the Senate Ukraine report uses Russian sources that are generally agreed to be, at least by my media, like propagandistic.
There are also Chinese sources and the Ukraine. So all 3 of these countries had to have been involved in trying to harm poor Biden by making all this stuff up. But I'm not done.
It's a Fox News. Let me go read the article. It's a Fox News article, so it'll be.
It's not an article. I need to finish my point, Rick.
All right, go ahead then.
You can do whatever you want. You're an adult, but I need to finish my point.
Okay.
All right. So what happened was, there are several significant things without going any deeper into it. The first is that we don't know what Biden was doing for that money, what the younger Biden was doing. There's
not the older Biden, the younger Biden.
There is some speculation that Hunter Biden didn't even go to the Ukraine, yet he received millions of dollars. And we know that he tried to get Burisma off the hook for problems. He also tried to get Chinese oligarchs off the hook for something. And he also spent some of that money on a human trafficking ring in the United States. We know that now. Some people speculate that the reason Hunter Biden was spending money on a human trafficking ring in the United States is because they were simply Russian prostitutes. And knowing, the kind of man Hunter Biden was, he might have just been seeing some prostitutes. But money did end up going from Russia to Biden to human traffickers and disappearing. Now, that's the first thing. The second thing is, we don't know if he ever did anything as far as showing up for work at Burisma. He may never have even gone to the Ukraine. So why he was receiving millions of dollars, it turns out he was getting $100,000 a month from the Ukraine. We don't know why. And what is interesting is that somebody actually asked Biden about this. And Biden recently said he knew nothing about it. Of course, Hunter Biden went on the plane with Biden on some of these trips where he got millions of dollars. Now, what we know is that there are two State Department officials that have gone on record. We have their names. They're quoted as saying that they personally warned Joe Biden that his son's dealings with China and the Ukraine and Russia were an embarrassment, and that he needed to get his kid off of, out of these financial entanglements because it was an embarrassment to U.S. foreign policy. And Biden did nothing. In fact, we're not sure what Biden did. He was asked again recently if he knew anything about it, and he said no, which is a direct lie, because we know that he was briefed on the record by the State Department. So that's my opening shot at you, Rick.
Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is.
Okay. But there's more. A lot.
Yeah, but I get to respond.
Yeah, you go ahead. Take your time and read something to say.
No, I'm not going to read anything.
None of this bothers you one day.
I'm going to surrender. I'm going to say, fine, like you get to say all this stuff, and I'm not going to really counter it. I'm going to just say my opinion that it's desperate. 5.5 weeks to go until the election, Republican garbage that's not going to change anybody's mind at this point. And then I'll bring up a point that today nearly 490 some high-ranking ex-military personnel, including 22 four-star generals, including like the former head of the Navy SEALs, the former head, because when you're in the military, you can't comment on the commander-in-chief, but if you're ex-military, you can comment. Anyway, nearly 500 of America's highest-ranking military officers signed a group letter saying that they're endorsing Biden because they consider Trump a danger to America's foreign policy and to America's military. Now, if I were smart, and I just realized this, I would go and do the math and figure out, how many four-star generals are there in the whole fucking United States military, so I could tell you what percent of America's four-star generals say Trump's a piece of shit. But I didn't. That came to me now. Anyway, so anyway, that's. You guys can say Hunter Biden is a sketchy guy, and I'm going to say what I just said.
Well, there's a difference between generals saying that they don't like someone and corruption. Now, it's obvious that Biden was being paid millions of dollars for influence with his father, and that is against the law.
Okay, so prosecute him.
Well, they will, but I mean, there are
And hurry up, because you only have
if
5.5 weeks to put him in handcuffs before the election. And people are already voting.
well,
Probably
let me.
3% of everybody have already voted.
Yeah, I know. None of those things matter, though, Rick. It's you and me here trying to decide what's right, and
Okay.
I'm saying that it's very peculiar that but that Joe Biden's family would be making millions of dollars from Russia, China, and the Ukraine. And that I also think it's very peculiar that you don't care at all. It makes no difference to you. Because I'll tell you why it's so peculiar, because for 4 years you've been telling me that Trump was mixed up with Russia. And
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about that.
I had no effect on you whatsoever, even though you had no proof whatsoever. It was
No,
just a
there's
gut
all this
feeling.
proof now, and there's a whole show on HBO that I was just watching that people will enjoy because it lays everything out very thoroughly um, across many hours, and it substantiates everything that you were jumping on me for. Not everything. It explains what's fully substantiated, what's iffy, exactly the state of knowledge that various people at the FBI had at various points in time. It goes through everything with Carter Page and Papadopoulos and Gates and Manafort, and it lays everything. I mean, if you
So
don't have time to
you're
read like 8 books,
no
anyway.
no well I am going to get to that actually. It turns out
Okay,
this week. So this is my second point. It turns out
okay,
today it was released by the Senate investigating the probe against the coup against Trump. There are several FBI people on record now. These are FBI agents who have admitted that the case against General Flynn was dropped the day that Trump won election. And so everything after that was just an attempt to frame him. So you like that? You like having the FBI framing your political
no,
opponents?
that's not what they were fucking doing. Um, but also, let me do some whataboutism, which we
No,
also.
no, 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 no. I'm not done yet. I'm not
No, no,
done.
this
I'm
is
not
to the
done.
previous
I
point.
gave
This
you
is
a
to the
chance to
Hunter.
answer.
What yeah, but give me the
Okay,
Hunter
I'll give
Biden
you a
point.
chance. Let me finish what the new information is
Okay,
on. Uh, all right. So it turns out that they found out that all along, since 2009, as a matter of fact, the FBI has identified the person that wrote the dossier as a Russian spy. They knew all along who it was. This was kept secret from you and from me for 4 years. That it turns out that Hillary Clinton, through Fusion GPS, actually hired Christopher Steele, who hired a Russian spy to write the dossier. And that at the time that he was hired, the FBI knew that he was a Russian spy. They took the information. He's now been identified. It's blacked out for you and me, but they know who it was, and they know that an investigation had been going on. They've been watching this guy for 11 years, or since 2009 at least. And it turns out that the dossier that was used to get the warrant to surveil Trump was actually written by a man working for Russian espionage and paid for by Hillary Clinton.
kinda. I mean, because you say that.
Well, you know different?
Well, I
You have
know that.
evidence of something different, Rick?
No, what I know is, and if you watch this show called Agents of Chaos on HBO, we're lucky enough. I'm too cheap to pay for HBO, but we got it for free because we had to change cable companies. So anyway, HBO is pretty fucking wonderful. Um, anyway, you can the Agents of Chaos show explains everything, and it doesn't go into great detail, but it does explain what you like to obfuscate, which is that the dossier was not. Now, I don't know what percent of the FISA warrant was based on the dossier, but it wasn't the whole thing, and there was adequate other stuff besides the dossier to apply for a FISA warrant, because the FISA warrant is what? It's hundreds of pages, right? Um, and they so even if part of it was, written by a guy you call a Russian spy, that wasn't the only basis. And if you watch the
Well,
HBO thing,
okay,
it goes
Rick,
into all the
okay,
other entanglements
Rick.
that Carter Page had that made the FBI want to pay attention to him.
Do you know who Andrew McCabe is?
Yeah, they interview him like he's in this thing throughout the whole fucking thing.
Okay. Okay, so who is he?
He's the former deputy head of the FBI who was fired by Trump, who is suing because he's because the thing happened in the news today where he's been suing that he was fired for political reasons rather than for job performance, and today a judge ruled that his lawsuit can move ahead. So yeah, he's the guy who got fired by Trump.
Okay.
He ran the FBI.
Andrew McCabe is on record in congressional testimony saying that the dossier was the main without the dossier they couldn't have asked for the FISA warrant. The dossier was their main was what they had when they went to the FISA court to get permission to surveil Trump.
All right, if he said that, then I stand somewhat corrected, but it wasn't
sole. But even if it wasn't, Rick, what was proven today is that the Clinton campaign was colluding with the Russian intelligence to come up with a reason to surveil Trump.
No, I mean this is just horseshit. And the deal is that A, nobody's mind is going to be changed, and B, this is just the last ditch vomiting of as much fucking October surprise shit as the Republicans can get out before the election. You guys are 7.5 points behind nationally. You're behind in a bunch of swing states. One election tracker gives you Trump a 23% chance of being reelected. Another one gives him a 15% chance of being reelected. Another one gives him a 0.5% chance of being reelected. You guys, it looks bad for you, and you guys are spitting out a bunch of shit like an octopus that doesn't want to get trapped and squirts out a cloud of ink.
Okay, Rick. I'm not you guys, neither is the Trump campaign. The FBI sources have admitted this. They've gone on record. Their names have been blacked out, but these are FBI agents who say that they knew that the source for the dossier was Russian intelligence.
Okay.
Okay, so you are okay with the Democrats using Russian intelligence as an excuse to surveil Trump?
No, I'm okay with you saying you're bullshit. I'm just going to let you say it, and I'm not going to counter it.
No, but what kind of human being are you?
I don't know. I'm like every other human being. I'm good in some ways, and I'm really shitty in a lot of other ways. And if not arguing against your bullshit in this case makes me a bad person, then so fucking be it.
Well,
that leads to another thing.
Actually, Rick, it's not bullshit. These are FBI agents that have gone on record.
You guys are in the misconstruing business.
No, but look, Rick. If FBI agents knew that the source of the dossier was a Russian spy working for Russian intelligence, not retired, actually working with Russian intelligence, and they took what he wrote and they went to an American court and said, can we surveil our political opponents we have that this man wrote. And they didn't reveal to the court that it was written by a Russian agent paid for by the Clinton campaign.
Do
Wouldn't
you
you
know
say
that
that
they
was
didn't put
wrong?
in their FISA document that that you was it the name of the
Yes,
guy?
it
Now
was
hold on.
not.
So
It
here's no
was
here's I
not in
got
the
two
fight.
questions. Hold on. Let me ask my questions just to answer the specific questions. Did the FBI at the time they applied for the FISA thing know the name of the guy? And in the FISA thing, did they say that he was a Russian intelligence guy?
Yes, they knew he was in Russian intelligence. No, they did not tell an American court.
Okay, I'll take your word for it, and then we can move on. And yeah, and I'll say that if that's true, then that's bad.
Well, not only is it bad, but what I want you to understand is that for 4 years now, you've been telling me that Trump is mixed up with Russia.
Well, yeah, well, I'm
And
going to say that even more because what's come out is that Mueller fucked up the investigation. Rosenstein, acting as the acting attorney general, intentionally fucked up all the spin-off investigations, and there's actually a shitload of evidence of Trump, pussyfooting around with Russia. One of the guys in this Agents of Chaos show on HBO, he says you can't really call it collusion because collusion is not a legally defined term. Instead, this guy, whoever this fucking expert is, he said I would call it a seduction. That Trump likes likes Russian money. Trump likes Putin's style of governing, and he went into this whole long thing. So anyway, so I will stick with Trump was kind of seduced by
so
the
you're
very
and
charming
you have proof
fucking
of
Putin.
this. And you have
What?
proof of this? Do you have any documents to prove any of this?
You know, I got this document that it just has, like I'm taking an IQ test and it has all these problems that I'm working on solving. Oh, and here's a sketch of a micro mosaic I was restoring. But no, I don't have any government documents. But I can tell you if you want to learn more about this, just turn us off right fucking now. If you've got HBO or call somebody who's got a password and just watch this fucking documentary and it explains to and maybe you'll be convinced by it, maybe you won't, but it's a good place to start.
So when Strzok and Page, when their texts were revealed, that they were trying to unseat Trump.
Well, no, let's
right?
talk about Strzok and Page. So because they were boning, his dick was going in her vagina hole, and probably other places, and so they exchanged what I would assume to be thousands of texts, both work texts and just friendly texts because they were boyfriend girlfriend. They were having an affair, or I think they were each married and they were boning each other.
Okay,
so anyway, there was a lot of
this
text.
isn't really Rick. This isn't
So hold on.
important.
So
Can you
anyway,
get to the point?
they talked about they said everybody was a piece of shit. They probably thought, I'm sure they thought Trump was particularly a piece of shit, but they also thought Hillary was a piece of shit. And you guys are out of these thousands of emails, you guys just like to talk about the I don't know, the three of them where they talk about, yeah, we won't let Trump become president. Out of thousands of emails between two people who are doing dick and vagina.
Mm-hmm. Well, it turns out that when they were revealed to be trying to unseat President Trump.
Yeah, they weren't. They were just fucking people who were boning. But go ahead.
Rick, whether they were boning isn't relevant to my point. They, when that was revealed, it was considered dangerous enough that they were immediately fired by the Mueller investigation.
Yeah.
But so the Mueller investigation took it fairly seriously, what they said in those emails. And it turns out
Lisa Page has a book out too, so you can read all. I mean,
Rick, Please
Go
stop
ahead.
interrupting me. So it turns out that Strzok was the man that framed General Flynn. So he was up to a lot of mischief. Now, one of the things that happened because of these emails that he had with his girlfriend in the FBI about how they wanted to unseat Trump is that there was an investigation started against the Mueller team and anybody in the FBI, because you're not allowed to say things like this if you're in a position to do anything about it. It borders on sedition. And so this investigation was going on, and it turns out when the Mueller team found out about it, they wiped all their cell phones. The entire Mueller team wiped their cell phones. That's destruction of evidence.
Okay.
What
All
do
right.
they
So,
have on their cell phones?
all right. So,
Why is it that the Mueller team wiped all of their cell phones when they found out that Strzok and Page were being investigated?
probably because they didn't want to get fucked with by the fucking stupid ass fucking Republicans in the Senate. But
Yeah,
anyway,
but
here's the wait a second. Wait a
Rick,
second.
that's destruction of evidence. It's against the
Okay,
law.
fine. Like fucking go after them, investigate and prosecute. So here's for 3.5 years, you've been making fun of how smart I'm supposed to be and how smart I'm not. I claim to have the second highest IQ in the world. Though that's why I'm taking this fucking IQ test, because somebody beat me and now I'm in third place. I have to get back. I have to climb back up the chart. But you've been making fun of how stupid I am for somebody with such a high IQ, but I'm about to prove how smart I am for the first time in the history of the show. And here's where my genius comes out. When I say, nobody gives a fuck about any of this shit anymore, fucking Lance. That we're in the middle of an election. You guys are spewing out the same old shit you've been spewing for 3 years. We're in the middle of a COVID epidemic. Trump got booed today. He went to RBG's lying in state at the I guess at the Capitol. Anyway, she's lying in state. And the audience spontaneously broke into yelling at him, vote him out, vote him out. He kind of hid behind a pillar. People still saw him. Trump's in deep trouble. I got to go back to Hunter Biden, because what my media says when you guys talk about Hunter Biden's $3.5 million, we talk about the $90 million that Jared and Ivanka made last year from their investments, many of them foreign investments. And so, the 80 Chinese patents that fucking Ivanka has, including for voting machines and for caskets for dead people. So anyway, I'll give you all your points. That it was a fucked up investigation, that people unnerved by Trump talked out of turn, broke protocol or even broke the law, cut corners on getting the fucking FISA warrant. But let's move on.
All right. Well, the difference, again, I'd like to point out is that Joe Biden is on record as having gone to bat for the Ukrainian company that Hunter Biden was working for.
Gone to bat how? How do you fucking go to bat? And again, I'm on the record for saying none of this fucking shit matters. It's not changing zero people's minds.
What happened was he told when the head of Burisma, which was the company that Hunter Biden was getting $1 million from, was being investigated by the Ukrainian government, Biden told the Ukrainian government that if they didn't stop the investigation, he would withhold $1 billion in American aid.
Well, that's fucking not true at all, what you're saying right there.
Well, we have that on camera. We have that on video.
No, I've seen the video, and that's not what he said. What Biden said was that you're not getting the $1 billion in Ukrainian, and I think Biden would even, I don't know if he would, he was bragging. He was not hiding anything. Biden said, if you don't fire this prosecutor who was considered corrupt by the U.S. government and a bunch of other governments, because you have to go into the whole history of Ukraine, where it's had a series of governments of varying degrees of corruption, and the U.S. has an interest in having non-corrupt government in the Ukraine and non-Russian affiliated government in the Ukraine, because Ukraine is right up against Russia, and Russia keeps trying to grab chunks of Ukraine, and actually did grab the Crimea, which was
during the
part of
Obama
Ukraine.
administration. During the Obama administration.
But still, like, we have so what Biden said was, he told Ukraine, if you don't fire this corrupt prosecutor, you don't get $1 billion. And then Ukraine fired the prosecutor.
Actually, Rick, the position of the Ukrainian government is that Viktor Shokin, the prosecutor, was not corrupt.
Then you got to tell people to go look up fucking Viktor Shokin.
No. Actually, what they have to do is they have to ask themselves, why is the vice president telling Ukraine to fire the prosecutor that is prosecuting the company that Biden's son is working for?
Well, because he fucking wasn't at the time.
And the $1 billion, Rick, was aid that Ukraine badly needed because they were being attacked by Russia.
That's true, but
so what's
half what you're saying is bullshit. I explained what's not bullshit.
Why would Biden withhold $1 billion when his son is on this company's board and receiving millions of dollars and not even doing any work? We don't even know what he did. Don't you think that's a little odd?
No, because I know that I read up on the whole fucking story. So you want to present these cherry-picked fucking little bits of the story to make a bullshit case. You're not being a fair dealer in the facts.
I am being fair.
I gotta go back to the turd theory of information, where the whole wad of information is a big steaming turd, and you're just picking out the peanuts and saying the peanuts are the whole fucking turd. You're just cherry picking shit. And so,
okay, and it's very simple. I'm not cherry picking. It's very simple.
To fucking read up on the whole fucking thing.
Rick, it's very simple. The position of the Ukrainian government then and now is that Shokin was not corrupt. What he was doing was harassing and threatening to put in prison Hunter Biden's partner. So his father, the vice president, told the Ukrainian government that he would withhold $1 billion if they didn't fire Viktor Shokin.
All right, well, this is mostly not true. And certainly
No, what's not true? Which fact is not true?
The part that Biden wanted Shokin fired because Shokin was investigating Burisma. So one of the
it's just a coincidence? Wait, is it just a coincidence?
That Shokin was being a shitty prosecutor and wasn't investigating enough.
Well, after he was fired, the investigation stopped. Coincidence?
I don't know all the fucking details. I know that your framing of it is complete fucking bullshit.
Well,
people should read up on Shokin and the Ukraine on their own.
Rick,
it's just
what I
bullshit.
said was bullshit.
It's just bullshit. I told you what the fucking truth is. The U.S. wanted uncorrupt government in the Ukraine to have a non-shitty government, a non-Russian entangled government in the Ukraine, so the Ukraine could stand on its own 2 feet as a bulwark against Russia. And Shokin was corrupt. They wanted him out of there. The U.S. and other European countries all wanted him out of there.
But there
read about
was
fucking
but
Read
there is
about
documentation.
Read about Shokin.
There is Rick, are you going to let me speak? You
Sure.
can't win the argument by talking over me. There is documentation that the Ukrainian government did not think then and does not think now that Viktor Shokin was corrupt. And there is documentation that after he was fired, the investigation of Burisma stopped.
Yeah,
None of that is
the
made up.
deal is that people we're giving Ukraine. I don't know how much we give them a year, but at that one time we gave them $1 billion. I assume it's in the hundreds of millions. And Trump is president. So what the current government says can be filtered through who they're trying to appeal to. And if Trump's
No,
their
at the
sugar
time,
daddy, sure, they might say that Shokin
at the time,
wasn't corrupt.
at the time, Shokin's superiors did not think he was corrupt. That's why they didn't fire him until Biden threatened them.
I think it's Shokin, right? Viktor Shokin. So Google him. Let's move on to the next thing. You made your point. So I've said my opinion.
Okay.
We're done with that. Let's go on, because we're only trying to go for a fucking hour tonight, and we're already almost at an hour.
Go ahead.
You got another?
What's your
wait,
next
I got a quick thing, which is the results of a study. It actually came out in August, but the results have been amplified, and it turns out there's a crazy thing with COVID where, well, it's not crazy, it makes sense, that the more virus particles that you inhale, the sicker you get. Because they fucking, I don't need to explain how viruses work again, but the more of them you breathe in, they're like poison, except viruses. But the crazy thing is that if you wear a mask, and the mask prevents you from getting all but the tiniest little number of COVID particles, that it's possible, if you're lucky, and your luck increases if you wear a mask, that you can inhale so few COVID particles that you are inoculated against the COVID and you don't get sick or very sick at all. So in a weird way, for some lucky people, mask wearing acts as a vaccine, which is fantastic. And it's also one of the reasons, you like to talk about the miracle drugs that Trump is pushing. And yeah, there are a bunch of drugs we now know do some stuff. But one of the miracles in knocking down COVID mortality is people fucking wearing masks. So, do yourself.
All right.
Go out, live your life. Live your life like you and Corolla and me to some extent want you to do. But just keep a mask on. People are, in reasonable situations. You're on a beach, there's nobody within 800 yards of you, take your fucking mask off. But, if you're at fucking Gelson's because you want to pay too much for groceries, then keep your mask on and don't be that dickhead who has his whole nose out. All right.
All right. I would just like to say that it turns out that this morning, Nancy Pelosi went on record as accusing the police of having murdered Breonna Taylor. Now, for those of you that are living under a rock, Breonna Taylor was shot in a shootout with her boyfriend was having with the police, and she was tragically shot and killed. A day or two ago, the black prosecutor, the attorney general of the area of Louisville, refused to prosecute the police, dropped the
no, he didn't
charges.
refuse to prosecute. He took the case to the grand jury, and the grand jury is the one who decided which charges should be brought. And you're right,
Right.
that so I mean,
So the charges were dropped. Now, the
no,
point
well, no,
is
well,
that
I mean, nobody was charged in her shooting. What the one guy was charged? No, let's be
Rick,
fucking clear. Let's be charged. The one guy was charged because one of the cops was charged because some of his shots went into the adjoining apartments. He was fucking shooting wildly, I guess, and
yeah,
he's
it's
charged
not
with
really,
that.
yeah, okay. So he's charged with reckless endangerment. And each charge, his bullets went through 3 apartments, and so he's can receive a maximum of 5 years for each charge. Now, that's not important. The important thing is that the charges against the police for murdering or manslaughtering Breonna Taylor have been dropped, and the Democrats have accused the police of murder publicly.
Okay.
There are riots going on around the country. There's violence.
More protests than riots. I don't know how much shit's been said, but go ahead.
Really? So you think you think there were protests? Well, in these protests, Rick, 2 cops got shot.
That's true. Okay, so I mean that's
so I guess
true.
they were
Cops in
riots.
Louisville. What?
Yeah, so I guess they were riots, huh, Rick?
Yeah, I would say that
peaceful.
I would say that among people protesting across the country, there were probably 100 times as many protesters as rioters. I don't know what the math of protest versus riot is, but
No, I don't think it's a math issue, Rick. I think if you shoot cops, you're having a riot, and 2 of them were shot.
okay. In the interest of moving it along, go ahead.
Well, I'm glad that you were so magnanimous about that, because see,
Sure, I'm
in
a
the
generous guy.
yeah, in my world, when you shoot 2 cops, you're having a riot.
Okay.
So anyway, at the same time that this was going on, the Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi, said that the cops murdered Breonna Taylor, and it was because of racism.
All right. So,
Do you think that's responsible?
I don't know.
That's a tricky one, huh? Hard to answer.
Because I've read up on it, and I mean, and the trouble with all these issues is that there's always more shit to learn. For instance, the guy that you mentioned being the black attorney general for the state of Kentucky, I guess he's the state attorney general, or is he whatever he is?
Maybe the city.
Yeah,
maybe
I
the
mean,
city.
it's not like he's a bastion of Black Lives Matter. He used to he got his start working for Mitch McConnell, the very, very Republican Senate Majority Leader.
So they've already smeared him to you, huh? They've already smeared him.
It's not smearing him. It's just saying that the guy, I mean, what's smearing him is the tweet that I saw that showed his very cute white wife, as if that would show that he's not the blackest guy in the world. His wife is pretty ballistic. But anyway, the deal is that
you don't cover yourself in glory when you smear people.
Okay,
Just
but
because
anyway,
you don't agree with their decision.
Here's my problem with.
I don't think the personality of the black prosecutor really matters here.
No, it does matter, because if he if he did a shitty job, people are demanding that the record of the grand jury hearings be released to the public so we can see if he did a good job of presenting prosecution, because it's not uncommon. I'm not saying it happened here, but we won't really know unless the record is released. They won't even release the racial makeup of the grand jury because they say it could lead to possible violations of the jurors' confidentiality. But that
Well,
could be,
why do you want to know the race of the grand jury, Rick?
well, grand juries are what? Usually like 3 dozen people, I'm guessing, right?
Rick,
So anyway, so fucking,
so
I'm just
justice
saying,
is
like
based on race.
you brought up that the attorney general was black, as if that matters. That a case
Well,
brought by a black guy has to be fair. So
it matters. Wait, it matters if
similarly, it would be
it
good to
matters.
know whether the grand jury was 28 white people and 8 black people, or 30 black people and 6 whites.
Yeah,
It's
I understand, Rick. It matters because the Democrats are saying that Breonna Taylor was killed because of racism.
so
Do you
here.
believe that?
Let me say what I think killed her. The cops, was it murder? I don't know, but the cops plus the system killed her. And the deal is that they were exercising, I guess, a no-knock warrant. And like Rand Paul, I'm no fan of Rand Paul, Kentucky's other Republican senator.
Can I stop you because
Hold
they
on, hold
weren't?
on,
They did not.
hold on, fucking let me say my words. One good thing he's done is introduce legislation to stop no-knock warrants in Kentucky, in the state of Kentucky, where she was shot. Now, there's how much notice that the cops gave that they were cops when they knocked down her door isn't entirely clear. Because
Actually, it is. Rick, can I answer, please?
hold on. It came out. You're supposed to yell police so people don't shoot back at you, and you're supposed to yell it so loud that the whole fucking everybody hears it. And they interviewed. I don't know. The AG's report says they interviewed 17 people from the adjoining apartments. They could only find one person who heard them yell police. So in the middle of the door getting knocked down and the being woken up, and it's not clear whether they gave adequate notice. Anyway, go ahead.
So, all right. Well, there is a witness that said that they yelled police. And the fact that this man shot one of the policemen is undisputed. So when the Democrats say that this is an example of racism, and that the cops are murderers, is that really responsible given that we have riots right now and cops are being shot? Do you think Nancy Pelosi did the right thing when she said that?
Maybe not.
All right, I'm done. It's late. We said it would only go an hour. Good night.
Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Check back in with us on, I don't know, well, this thing will be up Thursday, which you know since you're watching it. And our next one will go up on Monday. We're going twice a week now because just so much shit is happening. And thanks for watching. If you want to kick us money and don't feel obligated, lancevsrick@gmail.com is our PayPal. And thanks. And hang in there. It's tough regardless of what your politics are. Everybody is feeling, my teeth ache. I want to get through this without cracking any teeth from gritting them. So hang in there, everybody. Good night.